Welcome to FaithX. Today I'll be interviewing Barry Yeow, who is an ex-convict and an artist, quite a famous artist. And I'm quite excited to talk to him about his story as well as the kind of art that he does. Welcome, Barry.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the privilege.
Right. So I mean, look at all the tattoos. you have quite a story to tell, you know. So actually, you have come quite a long way in your journey, right, on transformation.
Yes.
Maybe you can share with us a bit more about what's the journey like from being being in prison to now being an artist. What is it like?
What is it like? Actually, I came from a broken family background, and I also was in prison for many years due to drug abuse and other criminal cases. And during that period, it was because of I'm not very well in expressing myself. So all those hurts that I've gone through, I sort of like bottled up to myself. And then I think when I was young, art is a way that I can express, right? So I embarked my art journey in 2011 when I was in prison. That was my last sentence of 10 years imprisonment. And in prison, I was, during that time, my last apprehension, I actually kind of like want to give up my life already, right? Because I don't see hope in living. And but I think by the grace of God, all right, I'm still alive. So in prison, I managed to cut art because prison has this visual art hub that allows inmates to practice art. So I'm kind of like more privileged one that got selected. And then it is through art where I do in prison. I kind of find myself that, you know, what does art means to me and what has it gone to related to my life. And during back then, I really don't know what happened, but just that I just love to do art inside. And then also inside prison, when I do art, it gave me the luxury to have distraction, so I don't have to stay inside my room. Right. But then doing art outside is totally on the contrary right now. That because outside there are lots of distraction, but I have to be very focused in what I'm called to do. Right. And along the years, I spent 3.5 years, my last phase of my sentence, 3.5 years inside prison, just solely doing art daily. And by doing art, I always challenge myself that, challenge as in a sense asking myself that what does art means? You know, what is the definitions of being an artist? Does art really carries a purpose? Because does it mean you just paint for beauty, aesthetic, just to please people with visual images? And then so that kept me a while, coming a couple of years to really probe and ponder over it. And then as I continue my practice inside, I kind of got a lot of promptings and revelations of how art has a very direct connections with creations. And then when we talk about creations, we talk about the creator. So then I have to go deep into, I don't say deep, I'm not very the kind of like Bible theologians, but I go deep into it. That means I go straight to Genesis, how God creates, right? And creates things or humans or anything that comes into existence. And then through that, I kind of understand that, wow, there's really a power in creation. That's where in the Bible, I constantly found that, oh, nature is actually the voice of God, you know. Then, and of course, in a man's prison, men have ego, right? So when we paint inside prison, we will always have international artists or museums, or in even Singapore museum directors who came over to view our art. So every time where if they come, you know, that we want to display our art just to show our egos, right? But then after if they left, I kind of like ask myself, is that the whole purpose of doing art? You know, then I find out, oh no, that's not. It actually is more than that. So it kind of like bring me or kept me grounded in a sense that I come to understand, oh, actually I'm just the tools, or I'm just translating what God creates. That's all. So I don't see myself as or they call it masters, or no, I don't. I see that I see myself as a very humble, privileged tools that broken vessels saved by grace to do His work, and that keeps me. Changed my whole perspective in seeing what art is all about. And then inside prison, I also was thinking that I had a conviction that I come out, I want to do art, but come out to do art is totally different in context, right? Firstly, I do not have qualifications. I do not have academic credentials. Then back then, I also don't have a shelter. I don't have saving. So how much more if I want to do art? That was my challenge. Why? Because the struggle is real, even though I'm very safe, being confined in a prison setting, but the inner struggle is very real. Why? The struggle is between reality against the uncertainty. Reality speaks of, you do not have any qualifications, you do not have what it takes to fulfill this dream. But uncertainty is the only thing that I always look into, that is what God says about what He's going to do, and what God says that He will fulfill. So there are these two extremes that I need to focus. There's always one part when you are in hyper solid mood, you always look into faith. But then after Sunday service, then you kind of drag. Then the weekdays, the cycle starts again. So there's always this challenge. Then until one fine day, I kind of like got the revelations about what's the definitions of being an artist all about. Because inside, I did a lot of self-studies because inside prison we have these libraries that they have a lot of art books. So I'll read about different artists, different masters, right? So when I read about their biography, their art journey, then they'll come to one point that I see myself, that now I am where I am inside prison, right? So how am I going to carry the word or the art if I come out, to continue my practice? Then that was the challenge that I need to find the answers. So what is the definitions of being an artist, right? There are many definitions. If you want to become an artist, you must be in this genre. You must have a visual voice of your own. You must have your own style. Then that actually, the more I read, the more intimidated me, because I cannot literally become Monet, I cannot literally become Van Gogh, I cannot literally become Michelangelo, because that is their visual voice, that's their own style. So then what about myself? Okay. Then I did pray about it. Then I got my revelation. Actually, it's quite simple, right? My definition is artists simply create. Artists simply create. That means you create something out of nothing. To me, you are an artist already. Right? Maybe photography, from a blank monitor, you come out, or even accountant, where a blank paper, you come out with the figures. That's your piece of art, because you created something out of nothing. Okay, so that's what I see in plain form, that that is what all about. And then it is through these revelations that I received, that it also brought me to tears in a sense. Why? Because I realized that instead of creating, right, as called being an artist, instead of creating, all the while I have been destroying. Right? That's why I'm into drugs. I destroy my health. All right. That's why I I destroyed the trust that people gave, right? I destroyed literally almost everything, the relationship, the trust. I even destroyed my own dignity, right? Being a human during that time. That's where I come to realize, and it brought me to tears, right? And I'm thankful that I got these revelations. Then that's where I got even my conviction even anchored deeper, in the sense that I tell myself, yes, I've destroyed almost 2/3 of my life, right? But if I still hold a breath, right, to leave prison, then I no longer want to destroy but create. So that kind of gives me convictions that doing what I am doing today. So what I'm doing today as a full-time artist, it's not about selling painting, it's not about the dollar and cents that I make, but rather it's simply because of the convictions that I know I'm called to simply create instead of destroy.
Wow, okay. Okay, that's very deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, amazing. Wow, the conviction.
It's gonna be a long story if I tell you all. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to share a long story, you can just have like 2 part of interview lah. Okay. Yeah. Wow, so interesting. Because you said an artist create something out of nothing. It's like a blank canvas. They create something out of that blank canvas. There's nothing on it. You know, that sounds like how God created, right? In the beginning, it was like practically nothing, and then God created.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like you are basically working with God lah.
I think it's so kind of sort of like being, as what I mentioned, I just I see myself as there's a form of art in pottery that is broken. Then the Japanese, it's called kintsugi, right? Then they piece it together. Then they use gold to mend the broken pieces together. I see myself, when I come to understand that form of art, that I see myself, hey, I'm just a broken vessel, right? And then simply saved by grace, right? And the broken vessel actually is a bowl, all right? The bowl is functional, but it's broken. That means it's not functional anymore. But the artist actually use it to mend it back with gold trim, to glue it together. That kind of prompt me to see, myself, because the Bible also talks about clay and the potter, all right? Because I myself took up pottery also because of I want to understand the deeper revelations of between the potter and the clay, so that I kind of understand. There's actually a very straight and direct connections between the potter and the clay. So I see that apply and see it as myself in my life as well.
Okay. It's quite a step of faith, right? Because in prison, you don't have to worry about anything about whether you can sell the art lah, whether you can get people to approve of it, But once you do it for a living, right, it's quite a different story. So how do you even take that step of faith?
Okay. I only take a very simple faith. You've asked me about faith, right? It's not about mine is like mountain moving faith, because
it's mountain moving.
because when I was in prison, I also meditate a lot on this topic itself, right? Because how can I have faith in a sense, right? Even Peter is next to Jesus. When he walks on water, he still sinks, despite Christ asking to come forward, right? So how does that apply to me? So the only faith, that's what I mentioned earlier, is between the reality and the uncertainty. So the uncertainty, I will put it, is where my faith is going to park, right? It's where my faith is going to be, right? Because I don't know what's ahead of me, right? So how I park my faith in uncertainty, in the sense that, because every time, especially with my background, right, or with my colorful parts, I always come to one point after another and after another, and every point comes with a challenge, and the challenge comes with fear, okay, because it's going to have a transformation, a transitions of one point to another, right? So that where change is taking place, or you want to take the risk to make a change, right? Fear is never absent, right? The fear of what? The fear of rejection, the fear of being stigmatized, the fear of being ridiculed. In fact, I experienced that many times inside prison.
Because you wanted to be an artist?
Yeah.
Oh.
Because everyone knows that I do not have qualifications. Everyone knows that I do not even have family visits. Everyone knows that I literally have nothing. I don't even have a shelter. How much more you talk about want to become a full-time artist? You see? That's one part. Another part was that I would call it a self-inflicted fear. The self-inflicted fear is where actually God already promised something in head. It's just the self-inflicted. No, I don't think I can. I think right? Like when I first started doing painting when I was outside, right? This kind of notion also appear in my mind also. In a sense, why who will want to buy your painting? If I'm a war hero, I fight ISIS, come back, then I become a war hero. It's different issue, different matter. But with a whole strings of crime and prison history, so who will want to buy your painting, right? Last time I did appear in newspaper, but last time when I appeared is because I committed robbery, so I appeared in newspaper.
All the wrong reason.
Right, so it's different already, you see. And there's this self-inflicted fear or struggles that I intimidated myself, in fact. You get what I mean? So that was me when I first started also. There's always this constant struggle. So back to where my faith is. Actually, I always apply a childlike faith, that's all. A childlike faith as in what Jesus says. So when I first started to become a full-time, that was 5 days after my release.
Oh, wow.
That means the first time in my life, I come out of prison. Last time I always come out of prison, a big group of friends or so-called gang will come. But this time around, come out, no gangs or no nothing, right? The only people who come and pick me up are my mentor then. All right, most are the Christians I would say Christian family. So I felt, the setting is very different. The scenario is different. Something to look forward to. Last time where gang members will come and pick you up, right? First thing they offer a cigarette, then drink. Okay, then tonight, okay, where shall we go? But this time, Christian setting is very different, right? Okay, right. So when I come out that time, all right, 5 days I took up the brush, and when I took up the brush, I actually sat in the studio to face the canvas for 2 days. Doing nothing, just staring blank, just like staring them what to paint. But inside I can paint like.
Why? But why was there this? Because
there's the self-inflicted fear or self-inflicted struggles or pressure in a sense, right? Who would want to buy my painting? And you're in one corner of Singapore that no one knows you, right? And if you are somebody then with credentials, and it's different. And then there are so many artists. When I came out, I get to understand what social media is all about. Because when I went in 2008, the phone is still Nokia sliding. So when I come out, it's a smartphone. It took me 4 days to understand the gadgets. So when you start to scroll, then you got to start to find out, wow, there are so many good artists around, right? So in my so-called self-inflicted fear, it was that, wow, how am I going to compete with all these artists? Right? How am I going to? Because they are more established, all right? They have a name of their own. They have this, they have that, but I don't have. So how am I going to compete with them? Right? So the simple faith that I applied was, hey, why should I compete with them? Because after I prayed, right, I see the whole scenario different. Why should I compete with them? They should compete with me.
Wow.
So the whole setting changed. That's where I started to paint. So I painted my first painting. I painted a starfish story. All right, that was in on papers also. That was my first painting, and the simple faith. All the while I apply is actually, I would say, simple faith. Simple faith is because inside I spend quite a huge time, a number of times to read All right. So I always capture those, short verses that, speak very direct. You don't go on the theology, then you 头痛 already. So I see, okay, then what does Jesus say when he says, do not worry? He only tells me to look at the birds. So prison don't have birds because it's all concealed.
Yeah.
So the only time I can look at the birds is when I go to yard. So I always look at the birds. Then I start pondering upon creation again. That's where I got marveled and amazed by creation, by understanding the power of creations in a sense. Why Jesus says, look at the birds? And why not the earthworm? Then I can think back, deeper. Even the earthworm is buried under the soil. You never heard earthworm starve to death. I never heard birds starve to death. And that's where I see, then I will, in my prayer, I always come to that point. I say, hey God, if you feed the birds, I know you will feed me. That's how simple my prayer is. It's not, I pray for this, prayer. No, it's just very simple. God, if you feed the birds, you can feed the birds, you will feed me. If you bring me thus far, you will bring me across. So that was how I applied my simple faith.
Wow.
Not into theology, but very direct and simple. Sometimes then, the following passage also mentioned about even the lilies in the field, right? I went and look at it, and when I went Europe, I look at the wild lilies. Then I kind of understand. Wow, okay, it's really, you will marvel at creation. That's where I kind of understand. Wow, this is really powerful. It's just that because in Singapore, throughout my past years, I got no time to bother about creations, right? Because the pace of life is so fast. Students' studies are so stressful, right? So for me also the same, when we are on drugs, we got no time to look at what creation is all about. As long as I can survive one day, all right, and then that is good enough, But until I understand and predict, I'm still I'm still going to into this, but it will never finished. In terms of going deeper and deeper, but regardless of how deep I can go, I always think of that as simple as possible. That's all. Because life is already complicated, so why going to make life more complicated in doing something? And that also applies into art as well.
God used art to change your life. But
yeah,
can you share with us like how God used your art to change other people's life?
Okay. When there were points in life that I always ask. When Paul says, "In all things give thanks," so I say, how to give thanks when you have all the broken lives that life so shattered, and you've gone through so much pain. How to give thanks. Right, just very simple. How to give thanks when you have toothache? Oh God, I thank you for the toothache so that I will not eat sweets anymore. No, you will never do that, right? But it is when or maybe you went to extract your teeth or tooth, then you realize, I still safe. And at least you thank God for that. It's after. So when I see my life in this context, right, then I start to give thanks in the sense where I come to one passage in Hebrews chapter 11 verse 2. It says, Jesus is the author and perfecter of the life, right? It's the author and the perfecter. So that's where I start to see, that means when I start to accept, right, what the author chose, then everything comes to pieces. Sometimes when we go in, we are in pain or in the process of going through some struggles, there are always a challenge of questioning, why me? Why am I? Why others have a good family upbringing, and why me ending up one prison after another? So that was always my question also. But it is through this verse that I come to accept that, he's the author. So what does the author do? Just like an artist also. What does the artist do? Artist directs. Artist orchestrate who to choose. All right, if I want to paint a figure, I choose who to paint. I choose whether male or female. I choose the height. So it is the author that decides. So then when I accept this, it comes to pieces that, hey, then I become thankful that I've gone through this, right? But I know that what I've gone through is not in vain. It carries a purpose, because creation always carries a purpose. Okay, even if you see withered leaves that drops from the tree, right? It also carries a purpose. Why? It's telling you time. It's telling you seasons, right? It carries a purpose. It's just that we don't go deep into it, right? If you look at leaves falling from trees, it's telling us something that winds is coming, maybe autumn is coming, or winter is coming. It's telling us the season, right? Where during creation's time there's no watch, no clock. So these are the signs of seasons that God used, even the things that we actually took for granted.
How does your art change people's life or touch people's life?
I will not say how my art change or touch people's life. It is the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, that does the job, because only the Holy Spirit is the comforter, not me. All right, I'm just tools that paintings or art is just a medium that I use, that He chose to use. To be very honest, right? It is the comforter that is behind everything. Okay, if you say how art has changed or my art has touched people's life, I think it is the Holy Ghost that or God that orchestrate and use that medium that I created to impact people's life. Okay, but there are many instances, right? And what I'm doing right now is also same. As I mentioned earlier, I always challenge myself: does my art carries a purpose, right? And this is one of the purpose that I found, all right? That there are a couple of instances. Okay, I have come across one instance that the guy, my student, approached me, right? He actually at the verge of wanting to kill himself if I will not take him in that day. Right. So somehow or rather, I don't know. When he came approach me, he talked about what happened to him, right? That his situation and condition, it was actually very bad. All right. But one thing he found comfort is when he do art. So it's just very spontaneous. I say, okay, why don't you just join me? It's not out of sympathy. It's just I feel like, hey, I think I need to do something, So I offered my studio for him. Then he came and do painting with me. So when he first painted was, what he first painted was, I remember, was Angkor Wat, that kind of painting, because he's a non-believer. So he started to paint all this, trying to find comforts. Yeah. But he was struggling with his techniques, struggling with his color. So I let him paint one whole week. Then after that, he decided to ask me, what do you think about this? How come I can't get this right? And I can't. Then that's what I told him. I said, you're putting your comfort in the wrong subject. All right. Then he kind of like curious. Then I kind of like guide him. So he asked me what to do next. Very easy. I took the brush and color. I just damaged the whole painting. So I covered everything. So he was shocked. Because he took 1 week to structure the foundation of the painting, but I just took 1 second to finish everything. Then he asked me what to do. I said, no point trying to recorrect what is already wrong, because the foundation is already wrong, means wrong, right, in the context of art. Then he asked me what to paint. So I teach him to paint what creation is all about. So the first color to apply, I teach him to apply dark throughout the whole canvas. So that's where, when he start to apply dark, he start to feel his life. Then I began to teach him how to paint light. And while painting light, I kind of guide him how to paint shapes.
Well, why do you teach him how to paint light?
Because that's what creation is all about. In the beginning, everything was dark, right? And then what did God do? God separate the light and the dark. So that's the first thing I taught him. So he start to separate the light. Then after that, everything takes form. So that's why I teach him how to carve out the shape. So he start to carve out the shape, and then the more he carve out, and the more he start to feel, he see lights instead of focus on the dark already. Because now we are in the light stage. So he start looking at the light. So when we talk about the light, God created two lights in the creation, right? First was just light and dark. Second, the fourth day he create the sun, right? So then I explained to him, there are noon light, there are morning light, there are afternoon light, there are also midnight light. So that's where he start to decide how bright you want the light to be. That's where his focus is more on light, until he got the revelations himself. And after doing a couple of paintings and start selling his painting, right, his subject changed. Today he only paint Christian subject. He always paint Christ, right? You see? Yeah. Then he got saved also. So through him, through this incident, I kind of, I'm just a mouthpiece. I'm just, whatever I have, I offered as a platform for him to start up. So to me, I don't see as impact, but I see the creator behind the whole, the whole creations, that how he has shaped this person's life. This is one of the instances. There are many instances that happens in my course of art practice outside. All right. Then today I use art to reach out to people from all walks. All right. I have quite a number of students who have suicide tendency, want to cut themselves. All right. And they'll come to tell you, I don't see hope. I don't see the point. And they are not special needs. They are actually very brilliant. Even the parents will send me, can you tell my son to do this? Can you teach? I say, I'm not God. I have to tell your son. But I can use art to direct him to discover himself. And I have one instance, one young boy also, 18 years old, who find that no point, because he's brilliant. All right, brilliant in the sense that, example, the parents want him to study in this faculty, this subject. Then he says, I will study because of my parents, but what's the point of studying? Because I'm not going to be a lawyer if I study law. So they don't see the point. Right? So brought him in to do art, right? And now he start to see creation, that the way he creates, then how he applies his life. And he just got his result. He passed his exam, and he's very proud of himself. And he start to discover that actually there's a purpose in his life, rather than you don't see the point. But that doesn't mean you don't have a purpose. You may not see it right now, because everything is dark, it's blank in you. But there is a purpose behind. So on my side, for myself, is how I'm going to help him to discover, or to probe open, and to find the gems in the persons. These are a few cases.
So what do you tell your students when they come to you for class?
How do I tell? Actually, I just let them, mostly the first lesson, I let them paint what they want. Because it is through the way they express, I don't know, I just can feel, I can see what they are going through, all right? But for me, I don't look at what they are going through. My style in teaching is that I look at what their strength is. Because it's easy to look at the flaws of the people all right? Just like when parents bring their kids, before the lesson starts, hey teacher, I tell you first, my daughter, I say, no, you don't tell me that, right? Because for me, I strictly hold on very tightly that life and death lies under the tongue. Right? So actually, when you're telling me, you're actually speaking death to your own kid, the parents, right? But they are non-believers, so it takes me a while to kind of slowly explain to them. So I don't tell me about what she was, tell me is what she is or what she has. Then they start to think, wow, you tell me 10 words, right? How many are negative one? Then you name me 5 that's positive. Yes, they are very easily distracted by gadgets. They cannot really sit down and focus. It's easy to tell me that, but you tell me their strength. Because I think for myself it's also the same. When I was young, right, my mother always speak negative words, right? The words of death, words of condemnations, words, and then kind of like shaped me into it. So when I read proverb about this verse, I kind of like understand. Oh, right, because then I reflect on one instance also the same. I remember I failed primary 4. I failed. All right, I got second from the last.
Oh, wow, sorry.
So my class has 39, so I got 38. So I got last. I remember this incident very clearly, and that's where I uphold this verse very tightly in a sense. All right. That year I failed. Then I was so fearful. Then I would go back because I know that I'm going to get wall up already. Right. But true enough, when I went back, my dad fetched me back from my granny's place. Then I go back, I got caned. Then my dad came out and he stopped my mom from doing that. Then after that, he brought me to a side, just grabbed me on the shoulder and he just says, it's okay to fail as long as you did your best. Just like that only. Try again next year. He didn't speak much, but what he says kind of sink into my life. All right. Then the following year, I got 3rd in school. The whole school, my result got 3rd, and I got a reward for that. And I also feel so proud. That's where when I reflect back, there's really power in words. That's where you look at creation again. God speak, things happen, right? Thing comes to existence. So there is power in words. So then, in my teaching, also the same. All right. So how I get my student to start to paint? So I speak words of life first. That means, as I mentioned, I paint the mind. All right. Because if you give any students, or I give a blank piece of canvas, okay, start painting. Hey, teacher, I don't know what to paint. Right. I don't know how to paint. So that's all. That from the words you can tell already, right? These are all self-inflicted one. I think it happens to most of us that we even didn't notice, right? Yeah. Hey, true. I'm not trained in art like you. I'm not into practice. I can't paint. No, I'm just giving you a very simple subject, just like I mentioned. Paint flowers. Then you start to think, wow, flower. Actually, a very simple subject, but you make it very complicated. Flower. 要画什么花? What flower? Then you start to think on what kind of flower, what color of flower. You start to actually complicate yourself, right? Why can't we just be back to when our childhood days, right? Where there's no rules and no restriction. You want to paint flower, you just scribble and doodle, that's all. And you find that it's very pleasing to you. And we can't go back to that simple faith.
Why?
Because why? Because our mind has been filled with all this knowledge and data that, it should be like that, it should be projected this way, or this is what kind of flower. Because the more knowledge, right? Knowledge is good. To me, knowledge is good. But sometimes if you do not know how to kind of juggle or manage your knowledge, right, it becomes a stumbling block as well sometimes. Because simple subject. If today I give you, okay, class, let's paint flower. Everyone starts to stay blank. Actually, you come with expectation, wow, very, good form, tip-top form, I want to paint today. But when I give the subject, everyone's stunned. Flower. Hey, what flower? You see? So these are all actually self-inflicted one. Why can't you just be be yourself and express, right? Then what style, what techniques, what colors, or what kind of flowers? You keep asking questions and then the more you ask, it never happens, right? And why like that? I think you should ponder deeper why like that, because the more knowledge you fill in, right, and you do know how to filter, right, then you tend to complicate yourself. So in my first lesson, I always paint is the mind, right? We paint the mind. The mind must be clear. The mind is clear, knowing your identity, knowing where you are, and knowing who you are. Then you have the power to create anything, right? You have the power. Why you ask question? Why? Just now you asked that. Why, right? Because you were thinking that if I paint like that, I don't know, is it acceptable?
Can pass not?
Presentable, whether my teacher will like it, or when we start painting, oh, she paints better, or he paints even better. So there's this comparison, right? Then it kind of give you more pressure and stress, right? And art should not give you stress. Okay, art should make you rest, give you rest, not stress, right? Because you can rest. That's why people say, oh, art is very therapeutic, I do art. No, why he says it's therapeutic? Because art gives us rest, the rest of mind, the rest from the distractions, the rest that, by when you're immersed into creating art, you actually step into a different realm of dimensions that, I don't know whether you have come across where you start to do something, right? Hey, wow, almost morning already. I didn't know so fast. Why you, right? And even though when you're immersed, things around the universe are actually happening, right? And it happens so fast, but you are just like everything just stands still, just you and why? Because that's the power of creations. That's the power of creating. It brings you to another realm that you kind of like, you found peace, right? You found peace doing it. Then it kind of blocked you from all those distractions until maybe your mom had to call you, hey, your dinner is cold already. So fast, right? I think you will experience something like this kind of situations before. So why? It is not because of art. It's actually because you are creating something. And we talk about if you're creating something, that means you're into a realm of creation, right? You're in the realm of in creation. That means you're in line. Just like you touch the current already, then you are very immersed, right? That's why just I mentioned, I have a student can paint 6 hours just to paint the feet. And it's small feet only, not big feet, small penguin feet. And you can spend 6 hours doing the same thing, cancel again, doing the same thing again, repeat and repeat. And 6 hours without going toilet also. This is how immersed the artist is when the person is really immersed. And then until, I cannot really, I need to go back and cook dinner already. So I thought he went back. Then half an hour, drive back again. Just now, when I drive, I start to think. You see, the mind is still connected, That's why we'll come to one point also where you were sleeping, then your mind still thinking of, right? But in the context, I think art also gives you the luxury to rest. So this is what I teach in my first syllables.
Wow, okay. You got any other things you can share from your syllabus not?
A lot. Then you must pay me and attend my class. I think you will learn. Then maybe you'll change the whole course of your life. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. There are many things that in my syllabus, right? Because I target on individual strength. Okay. Individual strength is that why sometime, I don't know, during your study, have you put on earpiece when doing your homework and your parents come, hey boy, why can't you just sit 2 hours and just concentrate? All right, some parents, they do that, right? Some parents will, why must blast the music or just, on the TV while you're not watching? Right? So that's where when I talk about strength is where it is, in a sense, because in the strength, right, because different individuals have different strength and different sensitivity. Okay, some are sensitive to audio, some are sensitive to visuals, some they don't talk, but I know you're there. They can just don't care, just do things. They are sensitive, knowing that there's a presence of someone.
Knowing that presence of someone, say again.
Yeah, knowing that there's a presence of someone. All right. So that is different sensitive. Some are sensitive to touch. Right. That's why when they do homework, they need to tweak their pen one, turn here, turn there. If not, must use eraser, must bite here, bite there. Right. It's not that the hand is itchy. It's just that they are sensitive to touch, more touch. All right. Just like we have love language, right? So it's almost the same. It's just that their sensitive is more towards that. So then when I start to identify their strength, right? Then I let them, listen to music. I let them, right, play on the tab, and you can see they start to respond very effectively and very fast also. Very fast. And then for the parents, right? As I teach some students, right? In fact, I talk to the parents more than I talk to the students.
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah. Okay. I can teach the student 2 hours, but I can talk to the parents for 6 hours.
How come?
Because the parents, you need more counseling than the, right? I think you all will agree. I think I must send my parents to. All right, it's true. All right, because parents will think that, hey, my cannot focus on. Some you have to understand. Some it takes 15 to 20 minutes. If those who are respond faster, right, 10 minutes onwards, then it start to calm down. That's where the creative genes start to activate, then become alive. So it's not, you come in, okay, let's start. Okay, start drawing now. The time start now. No, it's not like that. It doesn't work this way. Normally, it won't respond this way. All right. So I let my student to be themselves for a while. Then they start. And once they start, you realize that they are start moving, towards the realm of peace, the realm of freedom. Then you start to see beautiful, what they call paintings or language being translated in the painting. Yeah. The reason why is so, right, is when the creative genes start to activate, right, 15 minutes or 10 minutes, some later is 20 minutes. During this period, and they start to move, that's the time at no interruptions. All right. Even they do something that is wrong, or it's not right to the syllables, I will never interrupt. Right. It's after it's time to take a break, then they will take a break. And that's where I'll go into the syllables, the topics, or the techniques, or the skills. All right. So it's very different, my style of teaching. Right. And then why I speak to the parents more? Because parents don't understand. Right. The young one will always say, my mom don't understand one. She very hard to talk to her one. Right. I think, okay. But for me, I have to tell the kids why the parents behave like that. Okay. Because they only became parents once. They are learning to become parents also. Just like what you're learning art. You're learning to become an artist. They are also learning to nurture you. Right? So they also need the space. They need the lessons to understand you. So that's where, I have students who don't talk to their parents anymore. Oh. I have students who felt that I cannot communicate with my dad. There are many instances like this. And then through lessons, I'm understanding the creations, right? And then when they do, and then I'll impart this kind of syllables in the lessons, and then they come to understand, and then that's where, they come for lessons, but the parents haven't. So I'll bring the parents in, right? Then speak to the parents. Then I'll explain how it can be, situation can be changed. And those parents will take their advice, and things change. Bonding start change, communications start coming back, right? Then some children are more, we ASEANs is different, right? Chinese or ASEANs, we hardly has we practice hugging, patting on the shoulder, right? I find that, wow, not right. So when I speak to the parents, I will tell them also, how long have you not hugged your son? And they start crying, they felt guilty, It's a simple touch, right? And you can't even, are not even generous. But to outsiders, you are. So something is not, it's not right. So I give one example, all right? Example, you come back from work or school, right? And it was heavy rain and you was drenched with water, right? Rain, and you're wet. And you knock on the door, right? Your mom opened the door. What do you think your mom will say first? How many times I tell you already? Never bring your umbrella, is it? Correct. Maybe you think your parents will do that. But if, after a so-called lecture, right? Next time, please bring an umbrella, or very stern, right? This is one scenario, because we are all artists. So let's look at this as one painting. So this is one painting. Then another painting is a neighbor. Ding dong. Auntie, sorry, I forget to bring my key. Ayo, why are you wet? Hey girl, go and take towel. Right? Boy, go and make coffee. What you want? You need a shirt. I get my son's shirt. You wear first. The treatment's different. Correct? If you see carefully, the second painting you see is different. The neighbor gets 5-star treatment. Where is your daughter or son that you say I love, but gets not even 1-star treatment? You get me? Because the scenario is different, the treatment is different, right? Then you say, maybe the son or daughter say, why neighbor, treatment so good, someone got durian, someone got this, but how come I don't have? Right? The parents say, 不一样, they are guests. Yeah, they are guests, but the daughter and son is someone that is related, that carries your DNA. So who should we be treating with 5-star treatment? So that's where the parents start to see things differently already, right? You should treat the children with 5-star treatment, and likewise the children should treat the parents with 5-star treatment, or even 6 stars. You see? So this is what I will teach in the lessons.
Right, so it's through the art the student draw, then you can tell the story lah.
Yes.
Then from there, in a sense, it's like counseling. You're like a counselor.
Yeah, I would not say I'm like a counselor. It's just that I applied what I have reached, right? What I've seen in life, what I've experienced in life. So I just apply it, and then that's where I say I thank God for whatever happens to me. It's been used in the area of my practice.
Can you share with us some of the breakthroughs that you have in prison?
I think in prison I encounter quite a number of breakthroughs, a lot of breakthroughs, in the sense that one of the breakthroughs is that prior to that, I think I was very active in gangs. My mindset it's all about condemnations, right? So I think one breakthrough that I have is that I'm being set free from self-condemnations. And then other breakthroughs, as in, I think the breakthrough of mindset also, the way I perceive myself, the way I perceive life, the way I perceive what others look at, the way they look at me. These are all the breakthroughs that I encounter, in a sense that the way I see myself is as I see myself as an artist, all right? And the author has called me to become an artist, all right, with a purpose. So I saw when I saw this revelation, it kind of gave me a breakthrough, in the sense that I'm called to create, not destroy anymore. This is one of the breakthrough, which it never happens in my life before, because in my whole history of 20 over years behind bars outside, I'm always on the run. I never completed my urine supervisions.
Huh?
Right?
What? You didn't finish your what?
My urine supervisions. Every time after for drug abuser, you come out from prison, you still have 2 years of urine cycle to fulfill, and I never fulfilled. Right? So it's always on the run, hiding from one corner to another. So this one breakthrough for me right now is I fulfilled my urine test. Another breakthrough, I got my driving license. Last time I always drive without license. It's always, very rebellious against the law, all right. There are another breakthroughs is I think is how God has accepted me as who I am, not as who I was. I think by understanding this, I think this is the most powerful breakthrough. And it really sets me free from self-condemnations, because it was because of self-condemnations of many years. That's where I keep repeating and keep going through the wilderness, and it never ends. And now it's just another new phase of my life that I'm experiencing. So 6 years ago when I released, I was at the age of 48. So I always tell people, right, that I'm a newborn. So I learned to become a human at the age of 48. So I still till date is still exploring something new in life, right? Doing something that I would say what I like. All right, I really love doing art in a sense, but then doing art is one thing. But if I look at the people, my students, I see them as a blank canvas, as a piece of art. Then the perception of seeing art is different, right? And seeing how they respond from being a suicider to being a victor in life. I think that is one of another breakthroughs that that's one of the sweetest breakthroughs that I see in life.
Wow, so it's not just your literal canvas coming art, but also your students as blank canvases.
Not only that, I think I myself is also a piece of art, right? If you see ourselves as what I said earlier, that if you create anything nothing out of, all right, or something out of nothing, you are an artist. So if you see yourself as a piece of art, all right, will you want to damage or you want to destroy yourself?
No.
You definitely will not, right? So it takes courage to destroy, in fact. All right. So if I'll tell you, okay, go and splash paint on your jacket right now. No lah, this one, you know how much not, right? I save all my bonuses just to buy this, and you telling me to splash. So it takes courage to do that, no? So by destroying now is different really. Last time I destroy without taking courage. Now I destroy, you ask me to destroy, it needs courage to do so. So if you see yourself as a living piece of canvas or art, then the treatment is different really. Right? And then and if I say that the treatment is different, that means you have the power and ability to create. Everyone has the ability to create. Why I say so? Because we worship a God who is a creator, right? And during our prayer, the opening we say, Abba Father, right? It's so dear, so close. Father, that means, do you believe you inherit the DNA of creations? So if you believe you have the DNA of creations, then you know that you have the power to create. You have the authority to create. And you have all the creativity ideas to create. Right? Many chose not to create. It's not that they can't. It's just they don't see themselves. They don't see that they have the power to create. They have the ability to create. They have the authority to create. All right, be it Christian or non-Christians. You see, but if you see yourself, no lah, I'm not an artist like you. I'm not so articulate in colors. I'm not in this, right? So you can see the words that you uttered is it negative or is it positive? The moment you say I cannot, you are already telling me, or you're already telling the father that, hey, your DNA stops here. You know, I inherit your DNA of prophecy, the DNA of the gift, but accept the DNA of creation. No, it doesn't make sense. Why I say so, right? If I got one example, if you go for ladies especially, right? If they are invited for a gala dinner, right? First thing what they will do, they go to open their wardrobe. Wow, 糟了, what to wear, right? Correct. They will start, and then you see in the context, that means they see themselves blank already, and then that's where they start to open their wardrobe. Wow, this color nice, huh? Then they start to ask their friend, right? Or maybe they start thinking this. Then they start to take this out, take that out, then test here, twist here, turn there. Then they find that, hey, this one cannot. Then they go boutique and buy, right? And if the ladies were to go boutique and buy, do you think they take, give me a size 5 thick, then they go? No. For men, maybe. For me, I buy shirt, I go straight, okay, fit. You don't need to test, no need to test. I test here, can. But for ladies, cannot. Check here. Check the underneath lah, check the outside lah. A bit also cannot, right? Why? Because they are very particular already. Because why? They are creating themselves. Okay, so even the color a bit not match, dye must find until, right? Men don't have one. Men find, hey, look good, okay, go already. Ladies must, find until corner must take out one. you see the difference in response in creations. So after that, they go in the dress room. The dressing room, when they start to wear, right, before they even wear, they start to think, hey, my hair, you see, haven't even, arranged, they start to think, hey, my hair doesn't. Then when they start to think, hey, I think my hair must go this color, I think must do some highlight for this. Even the highlight haven't touched on, they start to think, I now remember my wardrobe, my closet, I have a pendant, I have earring. They start to think, you see, and why they start? Because creation gives you, it expands and it kind of extend and push you further to create, right? You see? And then you can see, after they start twist here, twist there, must measure here, then they start, all right, they think of their hair, they think of their earring or their jewelry, then they start to think of their shoes. But then you go back and check their wardrobe, it's full of shoes. But this dye also must buy one new one, right? Why? Because the power of creation keep pushing you further on. Keep nourishing you to want to create more. Right?
Yeah.
You get what I mean? After that, even then start think of the nails. But they are not. Dye must have some color, must have some glitter. Right? You see, why is it so? You see? Because they are tapping into the realm of creation. They're actually being connected already. Then if you look in the context, they're actually creating themselves. And who teach them? Because everyone flows the DNA of creation. You understand what I mean? No one will teach you what to wear, what color to choose. Will you go and ask permission? Hey mom, can I wear this today? What do you think? No. Even your mom will suggest, today you don't really look, but dye you still will wear. Why? Because you take authority. You take decision. You can ask opinion, but at the end of the day, you are the one who decide what to do. Right? That means when you exercise the decision, that means you are exercising authority. I decide what to wear. Alright? Hey, your hair doesn't suit. Never mind, I feel good. Because you are you. You get what I mean? So if you understand yourself as a piece of art, actually every day you are creating. Every moment you are actually creating, right? But as much as you have the power to create, never forget you also have the power to destroy. All right. So it's easy for me in my past life. It's easy to destroy in a sense. That means to create fear or create tears. But it's also, all right, to me, it's more powerful to create a smile on your face, right? Create motivations that, wow, I didn't know I can do this, there's something you never experienced. So if you understand deep in context of power of creations, then you will see many revelations that you never thought of, and definitely you will encounter breakthroughs, for sure.
Wow. I'm stunned again. Wow.
Right.
We can actually have like many interviews, no? Yeah, I think I have to bring this to a close already. If there's one takeaway, just one takeaway that young Christians can learn, what would it be? And you can look into this camera and then share.
For not only the young, I think for everyone I will end it with Psalm 150, all right, verse 6. As long, let every breath, right, that you breathe, right, and praise the Lord. All right. That means to everyone, not just the young, just remember at times there will come a point of life that we will have struggles. There are point of life that you think of giving up, all right? Or there will come to a point of life that you find that there's no point in doing, all right, because no point in creating, all right, because you don't see the purpose. But just remember that firstly, God loves us. God never condemns us. God gave us the identity. God gave us the authority also. Just remember, as long as you have breath, you have hope. As long as you have breath, you have hope. So how to glorify God with your breath, then I leave it to the individuals. All right? Just remember, because you are breathing, you have hope. Until you kick the bucket, no more breath, then that is different. Okay. That is my giveaway for today.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, great.